Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Wyatt Rockefeller's Settlers. And writer-director Rockefeller brings this space western to life, focusing on a small family on a installation on Mars, and dealing with some strangers that might be causing some issues, as this film focuses on this young woman named Remy, who's played in the film by, at a younger age, Brooklyn Prince, who hit it big with the Florida Project, is on Home Before Dark and on Apple TV Plus. And then as a teenager, you have Nell Tiger Free, aka also from Servant. And so Apple TV Plus young women represent in this film, and they both play Remy. And the rest of the cast is filled out by Sofia Boutella, who plays her mother, and her father, Johnny Lee Miller, and then Ismael Cruz Cordova, who plays Jerry, who has a interesting role that I'm not really going to give away. And then you have a robot dog-ish kind of thing, like a robot that acts like a dog. And you have all the trappings. You got pigs and chickens, and you got the farm, you got the ranch, and this is legitimately just a Western plopped on Mars. And I'm all about the Westerns, but is this one worth it? Frustratingly not quite. And looking at this film, it's an interesting mix of sci-fi, huge fan of, Westerns, huge fan of, and it really deals with the themes and plotting of a Western with that sci-fi expectation and perspective as you place this, what is more or less a ranch, on Mars. And there's very few characters in this film. You only have 4 real speaking characters, and it's small, it's confined. There's a sense of mystery about why they're here, who these strangers are, and what's beyond this particular gate that we have Remy wander upon a few times throughout the film. I'm going to say, this is a really beautifully shot film. It has a very good look to it, and it's interesting to look at. There's some inspired filmmaking choices in the use of how things are framed to build up tension, how it uses that deep focus to have things in the background and to build tension and suspense. And there's moments where that's really working for this film, and that's something that how this is technically put together gives it a lot of what works in the film. And right off the bat, Prince and Free are fantastic as Remy. In both of the times, Prince basically plays her for a good hour of the film, and then for another 45 minutes you have Free. And they're both great and really bring out a lot in this character. And they have surprising heavy lifting here because there's violence, there's aggression, there's tension, there is arguing, and just a lot of human conflict going on in this film to work with. And you have your 3 supporting veteran actors here who each play their role well. And you have Sofia Boutella, which this is the most straightforward dramatic performance I think I've seen her in. The closest thing is Climax, which is by no means standard anything. Yeah, Gaspard Noé. But you've mostly seen Boutella playing an alien in Star Trek Beyond, most notably Gazelle in Kingsman, and the Mummy in The New Mummy, which I don't know how many of you saw it. And it's definitely not her fault that that didn't work. But she does a really fine job in her role. There's a level of vulnerability that each of these characters has because they get put in perplexing positions and suspenseful and tense-filled positions in their human interactions, especially when interacting with Jerry, Cordova's character. And he has a very strange and uncomfortable relationship with Free when she takes over for Brooklyn Prince as Remy later in the film. And there's some real tension here, but the horrible pacing and narrative drive in this film, at many points in this film, the first I don't know, 20 minutes, and the last 15 minutes really have a thrust to it. But everything else about this film has no urgency or narrative drive about it that's pushing it forward and keeping us engaged, and which then the pacing is terrible. This is an hour and 45-minute movie and just slogs on. And it made me so disappointed because it had so much potential here, and it has a great concept, it has a great cast, it has a great feel to it, but there's not enough narrative or interesting narrative that takes over the whole film. Like, if this was like a short film, I think this would have been a banger. But it just feels so overstretched, overdrawn out, and only very few spurts of energy and action and thrills throughout this film that really keep you engaged. And, you know, it hits a spark at the end and leaves you with a really shocking moment, and also an ending that is not your like, if you're not a fan of like ambiguous endings, this one's gonna really grind your gears. But for me, I think that it has a really satisfying ending to the story that was being told here. It's just a matter of getting there, and it was a chore. So there's so much working for it, and then these really bad drawbacks that leave this kind of somewhere in the middle. I don't even know if I can say that I really liked this film full blown. There's definitely parts that I loved about it. It just never as a whole experience really got me. And I'm afraid that it might have the same effect on a lot of people. But if you're a genre fan and like westerns, like sci-fi, I think Settlers is definitely something worth checking out. But those are my thoughts on Settlers. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.